Welcome to the Region 828 Rundown as we head to Rabun Banks, Riverside, and Union County. Of course, we say Riverside because out of respect for Riverside, who just recently canceled their high school football season this year. And we had some of the coaches talk about that here in Region 828. Bo Wilson across the screen from Jeff Hart. And Jeff, I think we start the show off by saying, talking about Riverside and about their decision to drop football.
I'm sure it was a painful one all around for everybody involved, over at RMA, because as we mentioned in our story last week, that's one of the oldest football schools in the entire state. I've been playing football since 1908, and this is only the second season since then where they're not playing. And the other season was 1916, which I World War One. So, after talking to the officials at Riverside, it was not an easy decision. It was something that they did put some thought in over the last 2 or 3 weeks. But with so much uncertainty surrounding everything with this virus and kind of when are they going to open, or are they not going to open, are we going to play, and when the start dates were, they just had gotten with the GHSA and understood that, activity in June was banned for the most part. They have to probably start deciding in May who's coming back. They got to send things out. They have to get in contact. They have a lot of students that are from out of state, out of country even. So Riverside is one of the most unique, if not the most unique school in the entire state and how they operate. And so, you know that they were probably doing everything that they possibly could not to have to do what they felt they needed to do, but just because they didn't know when everything was going to be starting. Their kids couldn't even come into August, and were they even going to do that? Because if school is not going to be allowed to come into even September, what do you do? So it was a tough call for Riverside, and you could kind of feel the pain in the boys talking. We've talked to, not on camera or anything, but we've talked to McGarrett, talked to some of the PR people at Riverside. It was a tough one. But, as far as the sports aspect of it goes, it has an effect because you had a 5-team region, and people were going to be fighting for playoff spots. Now you have a 4-team region. Mm-hmm. Everybody's in. You got scheduling issues because every one of these teams, of course, is playing Riverside. And then the other non-region teams that are playing Riverside, all of these teams that lose a game, and they all want to play and get as many games in as necessary. There's a lot of scrambling going on right now for some area teams, that were playing Riverside, and then, of course, the region teams.
Well, you look at this region, and you look at Rabun County, you look at Elbert County, a newcomer into the region, and, of course, you look at – actually, Elbert County is not a newcomer into the region.
They're one of the originals.
So you look at this region and the teams that are in it, and we talked to the coaches, and Brian Allison said out of the gate, Rabun and Elbert County are probably, the two best teams in the region right now.
Well, he did say that, and he also kind of alluded to the fact is how many teams in the area where each team has at least 2 Power 5 players, and Rabun and Elbert both do that. Elbert's a traditional power. They've won one state title, but for years and years and years, who really wants to go play at the Granite Bowl when Elbert's really good? That's one of the hardest places to win in the state. It took Rabun years before they could actually have some success there. And Rabun has built just a powerhouse. Up there in the mountains. When you look at, who they've had, right now they got Gunnar Stockton, number 1 quarterback prospect in the nation. It's hard not to pick them. They won the region 6 straight times. They've had 5 straight trips to the quarterfinals or better, has Rabun. So, I think it goes without saying. You probably have to say, it's Rabun's until somebody knocks them off. And so the question is, who can do that in this region? Elbert is going to be better than their 6. They finished 6-5, lost in the first round of the playoffs. They're going to be better. They got Shannon Jarvis. That might be the X factor in this whole region. Is their new coach, Shannon Jarvis, who built Mill Creek into a 7A power. He knows how to coach. He knows how to win. He's coming back, to his hometown. What he is able to do in 1 year, in this first season, could spell a lot as to what really happens as far as, what will be the breakdown 1 through 4. Union, you got to figure it's going to be there. They're breaking in a new quarterback, some new receivers, but they've got a lot of people coming back. And Banks County, they have 14 starters. And Jay Reed's there he's there for a third season, which really they've had a hard time keeping coaches. So with the continuity that's going on in Homer, pound for pound, this could be one of the best regions in the year.
We got a chance to talk to those three coaches, Coach Jay Reed, Coach Jay Beaushaw, and Coach Brian Allison, as we continue our Region Rundown series this week with Region 8-2A.
Coach, a lot is going on nowadays. You got the coronavirus and all that. Riverside has decided it's not going to play football this year or fall sports. What's happening in Homer right now, and how are we looking for the Leopards as we hopefully move into a 2020 season?
First of all, my heart goes out to all the, especially seniors that are having to deal with this unprecedented time. I was talking to someone earlier, and I just thinking about myself at that age and what that would have meant to me, and it's really heartbreaking to see these young people go through this. As far as what's going on with us right now, we're kind of on hold with everybody else. It's kind of too early, I guess, to make predictions. We're preparing for a possible June start, possible July start. We're as a staff, we're meeting and kind of going through the different scenarios as to what might could happen. We're excited about our team and about our program and where we're going right now. We're on year 3 now, and we've built a little stability. We've maintained the majority of our coaches and the majority of our kids, and so we were really looking at this season to build upon what the groundwork that we have laid. So we are really excited about the possibility, and we're really wanting to get to play some ball this year. And really, when you look at it from our perspective, it's kind of, as you're dealing with this coronavirus and the safety guidelines that just got pulled out, we're really not only trying to develop ourselves and develop our kids once they get to us, but we're also trying to prepare to safely assume our roles again in our training. So there's a lot of things that are fixing to take place as far as having to buy the medical equipment and things like that we're really looking at and making sure that we cover all of our bases. And then once we get the green light, that we can go ahead full speed without having to, really, we've got a plan in place so that we're not trying to basically running on a treadmill, trying to not get anywhere. We're trying to move ahead as soon as we get the green light. And online stuff's been pretty good for us. We've started developing some instructional videos and things that we're sharing through our Google Classroom, where our kids can go ahead and preview information, preview our install. So, a lot of us have grown during this time. I think we've found out different ways of communicating, and I know I've learned a lot. So, but we are excited about it. Hopefully we get the green light, and I'm ready to go.
Well, Coach,
you guys were 3-7 last year, and you did lose your last 5 games, but 2 games by just 7 or less. So you guys are really close, to pulling off at least a 500 season. But it was a very tough region. But I think you have 14 starters coming back for this year. Which I'm sure is a big reason why you would hope that we get this year going. I'm looking at this offense and defense. You look like it's pretty balanced on both sides.
Certainly. We've got a good core of kids offensively and defensively, and we've built ourselves. A lot of our installs, I take the mindset of I try to work something in one year with the expectation that it's going to grow and develop into something that's really good this year. So a lot of the stuff that we're trying to get to, we've already started working with our kids with last year. So really looking forward to the growth and the consistency. And I think the 3-7 mark that you threw out right there, our first 2 years, we've been 4-6 and then 3-7. And I think you're fixing to see a good bit of growth on that, or I expect to see. Last year, although the record looks very similar to the year before, I felt like we showed a lot of growth and played in a lot of tight ball games. We had, as you go through our season, a very close game with Jackson County, which was good for us. Played them close both my 2 years here, 7-0 and right there at the end of the ball game, we're looking to punch it in, and they've got a really good player comes off the edge and punches the ball out, and so we have a turnover from the 3, which would have, scoring right there in the extra point ties that game up. Then have first program win over Franklin County in week 2. Then we, the inconsistent play that I was talking about just a moment ago and building the consistency, we get into East Jackson game and deal with a lot of distractions. Definitely do not play our best ball game. Down the stretch, we played Union County pretty well this past year and cut the score with them. I think, with the exception of Putnam, we cut the score with just about everybody. And kids were, and our kids are very resilient and have grown a lot as a football team. You're talking about that group of seniors. My first year, I was their 4th head coach, so that's a very difficult situation to come into. Last year's group of seniors, I was their 3rd head coach. This group that's coming up that'll be seniors, I'm only their 2nd. So, for the most part, these guys, what they know is me and my staff, and lottery and building a team chemistry. We're a lot way far advanced of what we were a year ago or 2 years ago.
Well, Coach, let's shift over to the brand new Region A2A. Of course, some tough news last week that Riverside was dropping the program their fall sports program for this season, which leaves a hole on your schedule in an already small Region A2A, which now basically, it leaves 4 teams, in the region. But you've got, Rabun County, Elbert County, those 2 teams with Power 5 recruits on there. Where do you fall in this new region? 1, 2, your thoughts on Riverside and their decision not to play football this fall?
Well, if you look at this region, and it's been really how it kind of went, I felt like we had a very hardy region when it first started out, and then we had two programs leave our region from the preliminary, and then we were left with 5, and now Riverside dropping off. So we've developed a pretty good non-region schedule where we go from playing rival right down the road, Commerce, Franklin, East Jackson. Then we get Lumpkin on the schedule, which is a new foe for us, and Fannin, which is an old foe for us, but we haven't played in a couple of years. And then we've got a big trip to Harold. Actually, they'll come to us this year, Haralson County. So some very good programs in that non-region schedule and some very competitive games, I think. As far as our region is concerned, there's some good ball out there. Rabun Union and Elbert have all established themselves as very good programs, and we're looking to establish ourselves as a very good program. We're trying to catch up. We've been trying to catch up the last 2 years and been cutting the scores with those guys, and we're feeling good about where we're at. To fill that void, one of the biggest things, and I talked with Coach Allison from Union just the other day, and we were in the same boat with as far as my October schedule had 3 buys in it, which really,
wow. That's crazy.
The way that sets up. But having such a small region, we weren't able to pick up. It was very difficult to set a non-region schedule. Yeah. And then we got into where we were going to have a week 10 bye and play week 11 against Elbert. And Riverside was our week 9 game. So then we were going to be bye week 9, bye week 10, and then play Elbert at the end. And tentatively, we've got a game scheduled with Clarkston, so I hope that kind of works out. That'll be in week 10. So that'll give us a full schedule. And I know some of the other guys that are in our region are struggling to find that game. Luckily, I was able to find a school. As soon as I found the information, I started calling everybody that was on the Riverside schedule. And so hopefully that works out to where we're able to get that game, because I really just want to see our kids be able to play ball and get their fair allotment of games. That's the biggest thing to me.
We want to see anybody play ball at this point.
Absolutely.
I take a 7th grade, 7-on-7 probably, but with the Riverside dropping, you mentioned a pretty good non-region schedule. With the Power 5 guys that are Rabun and then Elbert, and like you said, Union has kind of established themselves with only 4 teams now. I think we asked this question to Coach Allison. With only 4 teams, does that change the prep? You know you're going to be in the playoffs. Does that change the preparation and how you kind of set yourself up during the season as you go, on whether you implement things, rest people? How do you think that's going to work?
That's a long way away from us right now, to be honest with you. And I know the possibility, I don't know what the GHSA is going to do about that, the 4-team region. I don't know if they're going to pass us all on to the playoffs or if there will be a
well, there's 4 other regions scattered around the GHSA that were already set with only 4 regions. So I don't think they're doing a power rankings this year. So I think you're going to be in.
I've never been in that situation, so it's very difficult to say. But we take the mindset. To be honest with you about setting up our schedule, we take the mindset we're going to win every ball game. That's our goal. We play 10 one-game seasons, and so I think it's only fair to look at it that way and prepare yourself to be victorious in every single ball game that you play. I think you're doing a disservice to yourself and to your program if you try to set things up. And I've had the mindset at times where you rest your guys and here and there and. I want them playing ball. If they can play JV on Thursday and play varsity on Friday, I'm fine with that. I want them to play as much ball as possible because I feel like you get better because of it. I don't really prescribe to the playing more ball is dangerous. I think that comes in your preparation in the weight room and in your nutrition and in your sleep and in your hydration. And if you're taking care of those things, I think with a young man, as we train, our young men are tough and they're resilient. And I don't think that they'll get too much ball. I think they're ready to play.
Last year, you were finally able to get a couple of big, huge program firsts and some monkeys off your back. 10-win season, first time and most wins in a season in program history, and you snagged that first ever playoff win when y'all beat South Atlanta. I know that you lost in the second round, but it just had to feel good to kind of get the program to that next little step.
It was, and it was a step that we've been looking for several years. For me here, going back to 2001, we got beat by Morgan County in the first round and had a chance to win that ball game, and we're just we're excited about that and being able to get that win and 10 wins and just very blessed to be in a situation to be successful.
Well, Coach, you're losing some pretty good players, some really good players going into this season. Pearson, quarterback, Morlock, Drake, many more, Mancuso, some key players off your defense. What's the state of Union County football right now as we head into the summer?
We're in limbo like everybody else, and we're talking to kids online. And but I get the question, but we're in a situation where we've got some good players coming back, and we're going to have to count on some guys that didn't get a lot of playing time last year to step up and do their job and fill in the best that they can and do what they're capable of doing, and we'll adjust to what they're able to do.
You mentioned a couple of guys. You had some guys coming back. I mean, you got Jonah Daniel, 1,500 yards out of the backfield, add another couple of 100 yards, catching balls out of the backfield. That's a lot of production. I think 18 touchdowns. He had 9 100-yard games. That's kind of lost. We look at Union, high-powered offense, slinging the ball around with Pearson and Mancuso before him. But really, you look at the ground production that you were able to get out of a guy like Jonah Daniels. I think that's kind of lost in y'all's offense sometimes.
I think that's a good point, Jeff. I think that he did lost a little bit. And the crazy thing that nobody knew about him is he played the entire year with a torn labrum. We had to protect him in practice, and we didn't let him play as much linebacker as we wanted to, but he's a pure football player. He's hard-nosed, and his instinct is as good at running back as I've ever had.
Well, Coach.
Well, you got Mason McCombs. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Jeff. Continue on.
I was going to say, you also got Mason McCombs coming back. Now, you lost 2 great receivers in Drake and Kyle Morlock. What was that, 1,600 yards, 16 touchdowns between them. But you got Mason McCombs coming back. He had 435 yards. When you look at, he was like maybe the third receiver, and of course Daniel coming out of the backfield catching passes. The big question is quarterback. When you're going to lose Pearson, but Logan Helcher was a backup last year. Tell us a little bit about Logan and what we can expect to see, and will there be a lot of, if any, changes in your offense?
I don't see there being any changes in the offense, but Logan's a great young man. He's been patiently waiting his turn. He is, he's been there behind Pearson and getting the reps when Pearson didn't get the reps, and so we're expecting Logan to step in and do some really good things. Logan's, he has a strong arm. He just lacks the experience right now in the game situation. So we're excited about Logan. Logan plays basketball. He's a competitor in basketball, and I think that'll help him be a better football player.
Well, Coach, let's head into the brand new Region A2A. And first off, some of the news last week: Riverside dropping their fall football program. And I know we're, as you said earlier, we're all in limbo. We have no clue what's going to happen, come August. But new region, small region, Banks, Elbert, Rabun, Riverside was in it, and then you guys. What are your thoughts, one, about Riverside, and two, about the new region?
Well, I hate that they felt like that's what they needed to do as a school. I hate for their kids, and I hate it that I think they've got a long-standing history of playing football since the early 1900s, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure that that was a hard decision on their part. And but the region is going to be different. The travel's going to be different for us, especially. But I think on the same end of it, and without any predictions, you've got Rabun County with a Power 5 quarterback coming back, will only be a junior. He's a good football player, and they have several good football players to go along with him. And then you turn around and you go to Elbert County. Elbert County's got a defensive lineman that's had a Power 5 offers, and I think even a 10th grader that had a couple of Power 5 offers. So I think those two are going to be really tough to deal with and really tough to handle. And but who knows what's going to come out of this with this COVID-19 situation and where we're going to be. And it really wouldn't surprise me if there were more schools within the state that maybe feels that they may have to cancel as well.
Oh, let's hope not. But if I had to be a betting man, I wouldn't bet against that, unfortunately. But let's go back to Elbert. You mentioned that not only do they have a couple of really good, solid players like that, but Shannon Jarvis is now over there in Elberton. I mean, he started that Mill Creek program, took them to a couple of semifinals. That was quite. I thought that that was a really quiet move to get a great coach at a place like Elbert. How do you think that might change the dynamics of the region?
Well, I think Shannon's been the AD the last year or two, so he had been out of coaching, and I think he's from Elberton, I believe, and so that was kind of going back home for him, and I think he'll do a fabulous job. We played Mill Creek when I was at Winder back in the early 2000s, 2005, 2006, something like that. I can't recall, but and he did a great job then, and he'll do a great job at Elbert County, and just him being a hometown guy, and I think it'll make them better.
So, Coach,
pound for pound, you got. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Coach, with the loss of Riverside on the schedule, does that leave you guys just another bye week? Are you at this point going to try to find somebody to play, or how does that going to work out for you and the rest of the region?
Well, I think I just can't answer the question. With us playing them, November 6th was our playing date. There's not a lot of teams that have an opening on November the 6th. We can look back, and we've got already a couple of open dates there in October, just the way that schedule worked out. So once again, I tried to match up and see if anybody could match up dates, and so far I haven't had any luck with that. and we'll just kind of see where it goes. The worst case there is if there's not a points system, power system or whatever, if we're automatically in, then it'll give us an open date before we go in the playoffs.
Well, you mentioned that. I looked this up. There's 4 other regions in all classifications that only have 4 teams. Me and you had talked about possibly, would they go to a power rating? But my understanding is there will be no power ratings this year, and they already had 4 other regions with just 4 teams. So, right now, if they move forward, it kind of looks like everybody is going to be in the playoffs. Does that change in any way the preparation during the season from the standpoint, if you already know you're in your playoffs, do you coach and get your team ready for the playoffs no matter what week it is?
Well, I think, it's always been our philosophy and my philosophy as a head coach for I don't know, what is this, 24, 25 years going in, that we're going to go in to win every ball game that we play. The one thing it does do with COVID-19 and delaying, who knows when we'll get back on the field, is it takes a little bit of pressure off of us, pressing to be as good as we can be early, and to be with everything rolling early, and we've got 6 games to get ready for the 3 region games, and those are obviously the most important. But then again, I think we open up with Fannin County in our non-region, which is our rival right beside us. So we can't mess around with that. But on the same end of it, in the big picture scheme of things, October and November need to be when we're starting to peak and starting to play our best.
All right, Coach. Any predictions for region champions?
You went there.
Well, I kind of alluded to it earlier. I think, you've got 2 schools in AA that have a couple 3 Power 5 offers that I'm aware of. And that's not to take anything away from Banks County or Union County, but those 2 schools to me are the 2 best teams in the region, and it'll be an interesting week when they play. And from there on, we'll see what happens. There's so many unknowns,
yep,
and we don't even know when we're going to be able to start back. Mm-hmm. So there's so many unknowns. And the only way you can predict is to go off of last year, and if you do that, then Rabun County is how can you not say that they're the favorite when they've won 7 or 6 or 7 region titles in a row or whatever it is.
I noticed there, Bo, that he kind of just he's going to make Union County kind of just back in the background there. Coach, you've got the program going. It would be hard to sit here and say Union County is not going to be in the mix for the region title.
Well, once again, we hope we are, and there's just so many things out there, so many unknowns, that it's just really hard to make any predictions right now. And I still think there's a good chance that we'll play football, and I think there's still a chance that we won't. So it's just and not to be negative on it, but there's just so many things out there, and we're just trying to, as any coach would say, we're trying to take this one day at a time. Right now, we're more like 1 week at a time until we can figure out when we're going to get back on the field.
All right, Coach. Hey, we appreciate you taking some time with us.
My pleasure. Thanks. I appreciate you guys.
Coach, you guys coming off another fabulous season, 12-1. I know you guys probably thought you maybe had at least 1 or 2 more rounds left in you. Tough loss to Thomasville in the quarterfinals, but that's 6 straight region titles last year, 5 straight trips to the quarterfinals or better. You guys have really got a program going up there, and with Gunnar Stockton coming back at quarterback and a couple good wide receivers, it doesn't seem like the train looks like it's really going to keep rolling this year.
Yeah, it's a testament to our players that's really balled in for the past 6, 7, 8 years that we've been able to have some success. So it's a testament to them. Our coaching staff does an unbelievable job, and we just got great guys, great people in the locker room, and just came up a little short, in the quarterfinals last year, obviously, and didn't play very well at the wrong time to not play good, and Thomasville did, and so we're excited about this football season, and whatever that looks like for us, we're excited, and we bring back a great group of guys that's played a lot of football for us, and that's been in our program for a long time, going, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, where they're running our system at the middle school level and our terminology. And I think that's a huge byproduct of our success, because guys have just been in the program.
Well, Coach, let's just go ahead and jump off into it with Gunner Stockton. I know before COVID, your door was probably revolving with all the college coaches in the country looking after him. Number one in his class, Power 5, offers a laundry list long of them. He's back for his junior year. Just talk about Gunner and how much he's grown from his freshman to sophomore and now to his junior year.
I think the biggest thing that or the biggest area that he's grown is just football IQ, and some of those things, especially at the quarterback position, that I truly believe in. There's some things that you just got to go through to learn, that you just got to be put in those situations, whether it's on the road in the quarterfinals or a big third down, whatever it may be. But the way he handles himself on a day-to-day basis, everybody knows he's an unbelievable talent, and nobody can question his arm talent, how big he is, what he can do with the football. But it's the things that he does for us that a lot of people may not notice. Calling protections, he calls all our protections. He sets the protection, carries multiple plays in on one snap that we can get to. All of those little things that we're very fortunate to have in a quarterback that's going to be a starter for 4 straight years, and then plus the talent level that he plays at. It's hard to put a measure on what kind of guy, what that guy means to your program and what he means to Rabun County. And he's a better teammate. He's a better person in our community, and we're very excited to have Gunner the next 2 years. That's for sure.
He's going to have weapons around him. I mean, you lose Hicks, you lose Adams, 110 receptions, 1,900 yards, 25 touchdowns. That's a lot of production out of your wide receiver area. However, we've seen where if you have a guy, no matter what level you're at, if you have a guy that has the experience level and the talent of a Gunner Stockton, that you can plug in pieces and get what you need. Sutton Jones is coming back. You got Hogan Woodard, Tate Ramsey. And those guys had a lot of yards and a lot of catches. Is there one of those guys that you see as maybe? I mean, who's the breakout guy here?
Well, I think that group as a whole. Last year, really those 3 guys were pretty young for us, as far as they haven't played a ton of football as far as Friday nights, and so I think those in a whole. We've been the past 2 years, really, we've been so dynamic and guys catching multiple balls and not necessarily having that one guy. Now, obviously, Braxton had huge numbers throughout his career for us, and it'll be tough to replace Braxton, just like it's tough to replace any good football player for a team that's losing somebody. But again, like I said, we've got some of those receivers that have been in our program for since 7th grade, 6th, 7th grade, and they just, now's their time. And a couple of them had to sit behind Braxton just because of the talent level that he was at, and now they get a shot, and we're excited to see those guys, and they've put in a ton of work, and I'm just excited as that whole group, that whole receiver group, what they can do with Gunner and what he can do with the football as far as throwing it wise.
Well, Coach, you go on the defensive side of the ball. You lost 4 of your top 5 tacklers. When you take a look at your defense, who are some of those players that you got that's going to step up into those positions?
Well, I think the first one is we bring back Brody Gerard. He's one of our starting linebackers. He's played 3 straight years for us as a 3rd year as a starter for us. And then along the defensive line, those guys are back as far as Will McCraw as a defensive end. He's coming back off of last year's quarterfinal team. And then you've got Hoff Wyndham, another linebacker that's coming back. Corey Keller's going to play the free safety spot, which he played a little bit at running back. If you guys remember for us, was our starting running back. He'll play a free safety spot, bring back a corner. We'll have to replace Braxton at a corner, but kind of the same. I swear I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but we're fortunate enough to have been able to have some success for 6-7 years now, and guys have been bought into our program, and they fall in love with our process, and when it's their time to play and step in, we've been able to have guys that take that role serious and able to step up for us. So I'm excited about the defense. Last year we lost our starting linebacker, our starting Mike, about a quarter of the way into the season, right when we started region play. So one of the starters that technically wasn't going to be a returning starter actually played a lot of football for us last year because of that injury. So he's technically not a returning starter, but he really is as far as how much football he had to play. So that's a positive, and our coaching staff does such an unbelievable job developing guys and getting guys ready to play, and we'll be ready to go whenever they tell us to go.
Talk about region, it's a new region, a slimmed down region. When you look, it went from 8 teams and insane travel schedule. So actually a pretty nice, tight, Elbert was going to be your longest trip, and, that's certainly manageable. And it looked like it was really, pound for pound, it might have been one of the best regions when you look at every team was really, had talent and had the opportunity to win. Unfortunately, Riverside has, decided to kind of, is that going to play with how you get ready for the season?
Well, I hate that for Riverside. I hate that for those young men that don't get those seniors, but I understand it. But it kind of throws a kink in our region schedule a little bit. Just being honest, we're going to try and replace that game, but for us, that's in October. Early October, and you guys know as well as I do to try and find a game that late in the season, because most everybody else is in region play at that time. So we're going to try and find it and replace that game to get a 10th game. Right now, we'll just have a 9-game season if I can't find that extra game and have just another off week. So we're just going to roll with it. And if we find a team, we find a team. If we don't, then we'll play the guys on our schedule. And but speaking as our whole region, with Elbert hiring, Coach Jarvis from Mill Creek, that's a huge hire for them, and that's his hometown. And so they're going to be better. I mean, I know firsthand what it takes to, as far as watching my dad build a program at Flying Branch, and then Coach Jarvis did it at Mill Creek. So I understand the caliber of coach it takes to build that type of program, and now what Mill Creek is. And so that's going to be an exciting game. We go back to the Granite Bowl this coming year, and it's going to be an exciting matchup, and it will definitely get both of us ready for the playoffs. Going to Union County, Coach Allison does a good job. It's a rivalry game, and I mean there's really nothing else to say about that one. It's a rivalry game, and it's at the end of the season, and it's just two teams going at it. And Coach Reed at Banks, I can promise you a Coach Reed team is not going to stop fighting and not going to stop playing. They're going to play hard, and they run the wing T on offense, and they're very dynamic in what they do, and they're hard to prepare for. So, it may be a smaller region, and trying to find some non-region games were tough, but our region will get everybody ready to go. Hopefully make a run into the playoffs and see where we stand as Region 8 AA.
Coach, let's talk about your non-region. I want to say it's the Fulton County school system, and I may be incorrect on that, but I think they've stopped all out-of-state travel for athletics for the upcoming season. I don't know if Rabun County's looking into that, or even if South Carolina is looking into that, because you've got a couple South Carolina schools, actually, 3 South Carolina schools on the schedule. You go to Walhalla on the schedule as well. When you take a look at that, does that concern you at this point when you look at your non-region schedule that could happen?
Yeah, that definitely is a concern. If the Georgia and South Carolina dates don't line up anymore, that's definitely a concern. And I'll cross that bridge when it gets there, I guess, and figure out a plan. But everything's been positive as far as when I call on the other ADs from South Carolina. Everything has been positive as far as staying on track as far as schedule goes. So. We'll see what it looks like, but I'm excited about our non-regional schedule. I really am. Our team is excited, and it's going to be a great challenge for us. I think you could agree with us with me on this, but this is going to be our hardest non-regional schedule we've ever played. With the caliber of coaches that we're going to go against, the caliber of teams, playing the 4 South Carolina schools. Daniel, they were a third-round team, 11-1. Greenwood, they're traditionally very good. They were a playoff team. Walhalla was a playoff team. And then we end with Pickens as far as the South Carolina. And then the 2 biggies in the state of Georgia, Prince Avenue and Oconee. And they've had a ton of success, and I got a great deal of respect for Coach Vandergriff and Coach Nolan, and they do an outstanding job. And my whole thought process was we're going to be ready when it comes November. And to get over the hump in the quarterfinals, and that was the whole purpose of setting the schedule. Is we will be prepared to hopefully go make a run in the playoffs.
Well, Coach, there's probably no bigger media frenzy game than Game 2 with Prince Avenue Christian with Brock Vandegrift, committed to Georgia, and then of course we got our Stockton #1 quarterback. All eyes are probably on that game at this moment. That probably will be one of the biggest games in Rabun County history.
Yeah, and how cool is that, man? I'm so excited for our community, for our high school, for our guys. It'll be a quarterfinal, semifinal, state championship kind of matchup. With the media coverage, with the fans, with the type of players on the field. I'm so excited about it, and as a competitor, how could you not how could you not love to go match up against something like a team like Prince and the success that they've had? I'm just really excited about that one, and as I am for the rest of them. But like you said, Bo, that one's going to have the media, and that one's going to kind of everybody's going to be excited and have eyes on it. But it's awesome for Rabun County. It's awesome for our guys because they get to play in an unreal, awesome atmosphere that, like I said, is going to be a playoff atmosphere.
Yeah, that might be one of the best non-region games in the state all season, regardless of classification. Are we looking at a game where there's 1,500 yards passing in that game?
There is no telling. I'm not making any prediction on that one because between the talent level of Brock and Gunner and what Prince Avenue has and what Coach Vandergrift does, there's no telling in that one.
Air traffic control could be called for that.
Oh, well, Coach, we appreciate you taking some time out and talk to us today about hopefully a season that we're going to kick off on time.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate it. I greatly appreciate what you guys do for high school football, for us as coaches, and getting some exposure for our football teams in the area and our guys on our roster. So, guys, I appreciate it, man.